You know, you can tell it's a big match because driving over the causeway onto the tennis center here in Key Biscayne from downtown Miami all week long, you know, you come through at 11 o'clock in the morning, you cruise. Not this morning. It was clogged and backed up for 20-25 minutes. The anticipation for this match being played in the daytime because the way the draw was set up, Nadal and Roddick both had yesterday off. So Berdych Soderling get the rest to play tonight.
Well, we've been making the analogy to the Final Four. It's so popular in American sports culture, March Madness. Well, this is Duke, West Virginia. Tonight is Butler, Michigan State.
Rafael Nadal, he'll turn, this just jars you again. He's still just 23. Hasn't this guy played for 10 years already? He will be, his rank will change. He will be 3 in the world on Monday. No matter what, if he were to win for the first time ever here at the Sony Ericsson Open, he would be just 10 ranking points behind Djokovic for number 2 again on Monday. So that's how fast and how much this result is going to help Rafa in the rankings.
Rafa's rankings only going one way. Don't forget, he lost in the 4th round of the French Open, and he didn't play Wimbledon. No points to defend there. This guy's ranking is going up and in a hurry.
And of course, if he does get back to 2, it puts him opposite half from Federer. Lost the first set to Nalbandian in the 3rd round. And then, as always, he and David Ferrer always have those kind of matches.
Well, he's had the toughest draw of any of the guys. We've talked about how advantageous Roddick's draw has been. To have to beat Nalbandian, Ferrer, and Tsonga. Those are 2 heavyweights, dangerous players that present challenges with him. And that just shows you how well he's playing, that he's diffused all 3 of those challengers the way he has. A different ball game here in Roddick's draw. Very advantageous matchups, not just in terms of where the players are ranked, but also the problems they possess for Roddick in their games.
Matchups, you said. Good matchups,
yeah,
right?
Sports are all about matchups. Benjamin Becker did get off to the early break, but Roddick able to manufacture breaks, uses defensive skills against all of these guys, and none of these guys have returned his serve or possessed the return game that Nadal will bring to the table today.
Andy Roddick won here in Miami in 2004. Beat Correa in that final. Semis once since, and that was in 08 when he took Federer out in the quarters, then lost to Davydenko in the semis.
And Davydenko followed that up by beating Nadal.
Oh, right.
As you see, this is Team Roddick right here. Stefanki's done such a great job improving his game technically and tactically, and Doug Spreen has monitored his body for a long time now and done an excellent job. That's one of the great assets in the Roddick game, his durability, his athleticism.
Well, Roddick has gone and handled this month of March with the challenge of the back-to-back Masters Series events so well. Finals in Indian Wells, where he really got stunned by Ljubicic in tiebreaks.
Well, he was a huge favorite, and Ljubicic did to Roddick what Roddick usually does to his opponents. He held serve, used some variety. Roddick fought hard, but the Ljubicic serve just caught fire. Once again, as well as Roddick is volleying and has improved, his positioning at the net still has something to be improved upon, and that will be a big factor in the match against Nadal today.
And a little surprise there because as well as Roddick has played, his tiebreak record is sterling this year. Ljubicic prevailed in those 2 tiebreaks, and see Andy also made an indoor final in San Jose in February. But the most match wins on tour. However, as we've discussed this week, this is a little bit of a hurdle now for Andy. Win a Masters. He hasn't done that since 06.
He beat Ferrero in the final in Cincinnati. And it's not uncommon to see Roddick jump out in the match leads early in the year. He is very good about managing his schedule. He'll take a break now through the beginning and middle of the clay court season, pick it up in Rome, and then play Rome.
How much on the clay is Rafa going to play? Is he going to dial back at all?
It's a good question. He's scheduled to play Barcelona.
Yeah, because it's a
just
hard
about 10 days.
There's two clay. There's events in Spain. It's very difficult for Rafa to pass on an event in Spain.
So Roddick actually will not be playing Rome. He's going to take Rome off, and he's going to play in Madrid in the week before the French Open. So he's going to take a big break, build his base, trying to get as prepared as possibly physically for the French Open, but he's trying to find blocks in his calendar to keep fresh and elongate his career.
Well, and Roddick knows his best chance at Grand Slams are going to be at Wimbledon and the U.S. Open. No sense of spending 6 to 8 weeks on the red clay over in Europe. And quite the opposite for Nadal. That's really his favorite time of the year. Tries to play almost every clay court event before leading up to the French.
And of course, you have an amazing contrast whenever these two play in their pace of play. This is it. Andy Roddick. I can never, you guys please help me with this if there's someone. I never can recall seeing a player who sat less during a match than Andy Roddick. He just doesn't sit very well.
Very few times does he wait for the umpire to call time. He's back there ready to serve. And Rafa is quite the opposite.
Exactly.
Who plays this match to whom's, on whose terms?
Right.
In terms of time will be a big factor.
But can you really, I mean, when server dictates pace, right? How can you really, it's not like basketball, right? The server dictates this. Can Rafa slow up Andy?
If anyone could do it, it's him.
Well, the other night, Tsonga had many words with the chair umpire, how long Rafa was taking between points.
When Rafa was serving, right.
That's exactly the start that Roddick wants. Establishing those wide serves. He wants to hold Nadal accountable to all 6 spots on the court, the wide, tee, and body.
But that is going to be the challenge for Rafa on that deuce side, is to find a way to cut that angle off and be able to get that return back in play.
Which he did so well against Tsonga. All right. Andy Roddick has 2 simple words of game on.
And there were never any doubts how Roddick was going to start this match.
May not quite be as dramatic as it was, but again, from the early part of Andy's career, I've never seen a player start better. He was probably, I'm assuming it was the serve jumping on people, but incredible first sets.
He just has so much energy. He plays with a frenetic energy throughout matches. It deserves noting that it's not just on the tennis court, basketball court, golf course. This is just the way. This is just the way his blood pumps through his body.
See what a great job Nadal has done transitioning his game to success on the hard courts. And beginning of his career, so much was talked about his clay court ability, but winning Indian Wells twice, 2 finals here in Miami.
That right there, Ted. We saw that against Tsonga. Did you see Roddick not even moving to that? Because every time Roddick has played Nadal, Nadal has been very predictable. Just slide, just start the first serve right up the tee. The added variation on the serve with Nadal is becoming a weapon. Once Nadal gets his feet set on that forehand and Andy is off to the races, it's nearly impossible for Roddick to turn this point from defense to offense.
And these are, is the formula still exist? This is the kind of point that heavily favors Rafa?
It's more than heavily. This is, it's not even a mortgage shot or a mortgage play. This is, those patterns, Nadal will win 90% of those.
There's a good return position. Roddick came way in on the second serve.
Very good. And then also look at his forehand there. He went to fire a forehand hard and flat to the Nadal forehand. That he needs to take his risk there, because Nadal loves staying in that backhand corner to hit forehands from the middle of the court.
Sebastian Nadal is with Rafa here. Uncle Tony is not in Miami.
That's just trouble. Once Nadal gets that pattern going, heavy forehand into the Roddick backhand. Roddick's best option is to not try and squeeze it into the Nadal backhand. He played it as well as he could. It's just a pattern that favors Nadal so significantly. Roddick needs to win the points quickly. He can't get into these elongated points.
There's another example. That's the problem for Andy, right? Is how do you do that?
You're exactly right, because Nadal gives you so little space to try and squeeze the ball into his backhand. And look how quickly he moves to defend this backhand corner, maintains all of his options, and he just renders Roddick completely off balance and motionless. People are talking about Roddick having the single biggest shot in the game. Well, the Nadal forehand is right up there in terms of the most damaging and lethal shots in the game.
Well, Andy won the first game with that. 4 first serves, 3 were aces. But that second service game, Nadal quickly answering. First 2 points.
See, on this side, Nadal is fine standing a little further back because he could look for the forehand.
Yep.
Well, Roddick had a chance early in that rally to jump all over forehand off Nadal's return. And that's really where he's got to take his chance. If he has an opportunity mid-court, he's got to go after his forehand more.
And then that. The brains of the Rosberg family right there.
is an excellent volley, not just technically, but tactically. Play behind your opponent. The rule of thumb is if you have the ability to put the volley away, go into the open court. If you're underneath the level of the net, play behind your opponent and reset court position.
See ya.
Every time a point has gone more than 3 strokes, Nadal has won it.
Forehands. 4 forehand winners, and Rafa gets the first break. First 2 service games for Andy Roddick. In his first service game, 4 first serve winners, 3 aces. Holds it love. Second service game, 2 of 6 first serves. Nadal breaks.
That says it all. For once, I'm going to shut up. That's better depth on the return. Nadal is going to force Roddick out of his comfort zone, and he's going to have to be more aggressive and authoritative on his ground strokes. He could beat the Almagros and the Robredos of the world playing like he does, which we see the great Boris Becker. He used to have a place on Fisher Island. But against Nadal, he has to use his ground strokes as weapons, not just his serve.
And that's really been the hard part for Roddick, is to figure out a way, once the rally gets started, to control the points against Federer, against Nadal, against these guys at the very top.
Doesn't it appear right now that anytime the point begins, Rafa takes the first chance to use his forehand to dominate.
And once he starts using that forehand, he can't turn it around. He doesn't have the skill.
Roddick can't. Yeah.
Roddick can't, exactly. Wow, except there. And this is the most improved shot in Roddick's game in the past couple of years. Watch on the dead run here how he uses this left hand to get on the outside of that ball. That's a shot he did not own in the mid-2000s.
I think Butch Buchholz would call this a good day at the office, huh?
This is his dream personified right here.
Butch formally stepping down as the chairman of this event at the conclusion. His baby, 25 years running.
And Sunday, they'll be handing out the Butch Buchholz Trophy.
And Saturday, Women's Trophy named that as well. Nadal just has Roddick on a string out there, running him side to side. Roddick's going to have to find a way to move him court positioning closer to the baseline. Start trying to become more offensive.
The problem with that is that's not his game. Similar to the way people say Andy Murray needs to play more aggressively in order to be the top guys. Well, the foundation of their games, and they have such institutional memory of winning a certain way. Roddick doesn't blow guys away off the baseline. He uses his speed, his athleticism, the pressure he puts on him by holding serve to get some errors and manufacture a break. He doesn't have one huge weapon to offset Nadal's patterns.
But he absolutely has to take advantage of this when this chance arises. There don't figure to be many.
Let front.
That's the smart play. He's good stretch high to the Nadal backhand, will yield some short balls. The problem for Roddick is he doesn't have that punishing forehand, that flat forehand that could hit through the Nadal speed on that next shot.
It does strike me that Andy's playing a lot from back. Ralph is pushing him back. One break point saved by Nadal, and he's at 3-1, and he's also playing at his pace. Robin Soderling, first time ever in a Masters semifinal, playing tonight against Tomas Berdych. We'll have that at 7 p.m. East, 4 p.m. West. Make that back-to-back semis, Indian Wells, and here are the first times that Soderling has gone this far in a Masters event.
He is so dangerous. He's one of the few guys that could hurt you off every wing, forehand, backhand, and serve.
Andy Roddick is going to be on court here tomorrow, win or lose today. Charity event being held to benefit Chileans after their devastating earthquake.
That is a good play right there. That will make Nadal think about how aggressively do I need to be on the return. Can I just block it back and try and get control of the point with my forehand, or do I need to stand in and incur more risk?
Well, and that's a great play to get out of the baseline rallies as well. Try to establish better court positioning for Roddick.
And Roddick with his second hold it love.
Well, this is the pattern that Roddick needs to replicate throughout this match. Heavy forehand, deep and high to the Nadal backhand. That's what will yield a short ball. The problem for Roddick is he's not comfortable on this next ball standing in and flattening it out down the line.
Right.
Right play, poor execution.
Yeah, because that second ball got him into at least to hit it from the baseline.
Exactly right. It's all a battle for court positioning, giving himself more time when he needs it, but taking the time away from Nadal when he has the opportunity.
So Rafa with a break. We're just waiting for a spectator to not that anybody should be in any hurry. Just don't be afraid to sit down. About simultaneous there with a late out call and Roddick challenging at the same moment. That's got the crowd murmuring. But the call was the correct one.
Justin, we talk about Roddick not being able to really step in and flatten out a forehand. Is it something he can still develop? 27 years old.
He's capable of unleashing his forehand more than he does. He doesn't let it go as much as he's capable of, like all players when they get nervous. But his backhand has become a much more penetrating, flat shot in the later years.
Of the 9 Roddick winners, 6 aces. That's a reason why that stat is not a very valid one sometimes. Off the ground, there's no comparison. Roddick does not have a forehand winner yet. Nadal has hit 4.
Well, this is an area where Nadal has improved so much. His backhand used to be a passive, neutralizing shot. Now it's a weapon. And a big part of that is how aggressive he is with that right hand through the hitting zone. Even a subtle adjustment there from Nadal, mixing in first serves, kicking it into the Roddick body forehand. It's been a huge part and will be a huge part of Nadal still being able to compete at the highest level, getting free points off that first serve.
And a second ace, and an example that Rafa can use that serve to get out of trouble.
Well, that was so big against Tsonga. He was down 8 match points in that match.
8 break points.
8 break points. And a lot of them were freebies with excellent serves. For Rafa, it's more about first serve points won than even necessarily first serve percentage.
Seventh Roddick ace.
Well, Ted, we've often talked about how many serves Roddick has. The amazing thing is they're all off the same toss. That was a kick serve ace right there, but off that same toss he could go to any of the spots, and that's one of the keys to the Roddick serve, the disguise.
We've spent so much time this week talking about certain players and serve tendencies and a serve they don't have. There really doesn't seem to be a serve Roddick can't hit.
That's what happens when you have perfect service technique. He practices serves to targets.
Well, and as you said, it's all made so important with the same toss. Not a big problem in men's tennis. In women's tennis, they telegraph their serve with different tosses. Men's tennis, a much better job of being like a pitcher.
Well, Roddick has had 3 holds at love, but that one break still holding Rafa in the lead.
15. Nadal leads 5 games to 3.
Guy who's constantly looking to improve his game. He's done it with his serve, he's done it with his backhand, and he's done it with finishing points at the net. Combine that with his obvious forehand and foot speed, you got the total package. He's playing the best tennis in the world right now.
15 love.
Well, that's a very powerful statement given where the tennis world's heading, starting on Monday, right? Heading onto Rafa's turf.
There's no question the French Open, if Rafa stays healthy for the next 8 weeks, will be a different ball game this year than it was in 2009.
Thanks, folks. Check your cell phones, please.
Check your cell phones. Unless it's a Sony Ericsson phone, then you're allowed to do whatever you'd like. See, he just does not have enough pace on the forehand approach. And we've seen it when he's played Federer, Murray, Nadal, these guys with the great defensive skills. He doesn't have the ability to create enough pace on that forehand side to take away an option on the pass to at least be able to nudge and cover the net appropriately.
There's one 3-second sequence where Andy's in the winning position, Rafa's in a defensive position, and Rafa wins the point. But I guess we have to redefine those terms, don't we?
Well, Ted, you know, like in football, I mean, certain defensive backs or safeties, they have get-out-of-jail-free speed.
Challenge Roddick, another
Ball was called in.
Nadal special, hooking and then just dropping off a cliff.
That's kind of what Deion Sanders used to have. He would give the receiver a little bit extra space, tempt the quarterback into throwing in there. And that's why he had so many interceptions. And that's that RPM string right there, bringing that ball down at the last second.
The last millisecond.
Roddick has 2 challenges remaining.
It's a swing point here. And Roddick with the right answer. Service winner.
Justin, how much different is this black string than the string you used to play with?
It grabs the ball even more. It facilitates spin and just takes to the acceleration even more excessively. That's exactly what Roddick should be doing. If he mixes in some serve and volley, then all of a sudden it plants a seed of doubt in Nadal's head. How aggressive do I need to be in the second serve return? Because right now Nadal is completely comfortable. If he gets the return back, he knows at some point he's going to find his forehand and the point is going to sway in his advantage.
Too good, but that's going to be the challenge for Roddick. If Nadal is able to get that return down low, coming up with a low volley and giving Rafa another chance to pass.
And that's a good place to volley. Right up through the middle, take away the angle. The problem is Nadal finds angles where they don't exist.
Roddick normally such a fast player, and you can see he's trying to back off a little bit. He's fighting some frustration, and now he has to fight off a set point. And he brought out the hammer. 133.
Well, that one had so much heat on it, it blew the vibration dampener out of Nadal's racket. But it's frustrating for Roddick to only have one shot to be able to consistently win points with. But that's the challenge you bring to the table when you're playing someone who's playing like Nadal is right now.
Well, Roddick answered, and he'll force Nadal to serve for the set.
Take your seats quickly, please. Seats, please.
Now Nadal serves to finish this first set. Just the one break.
And one break point for Roddick.
Hitting the ball short in the middle of the court to the Nadal forehand. That's Death Valley. Just might as well pack your bag. Just move to the other side and get ready for the next point.
If Roddick is going to go to the middle of the court, he's got to hit it authoritative. It's not a bad play. It takes away the angle for Nadal, but you've got to hit the ball hard enough and deep enough that Nadal has to hit off his back foot.
Ball was called out.
All right, Roddick. Again, a good challenge was given the game, 10th game. Call stands.
Ball stands 30-15. Roddick has one challenge remaining. At 40-15.
That's a subtle thing right there, but that's improvement in Nadal's game. That second serve more into the righty's body as opposed to just sliding it to the righty's backhand every time.
Roddick, I think, challenging baseline call again.
So Roddick is now out for the first set.
Nadal has become so much more unpredictable on his serve, and that's been one of his most important goals coming into 2010.
And Nadal won the last 2 points on his second serve, and he takes the first set in this semifinal.
Well, first set, Rafael Nadal comprehensive. One break of serve. Roddick served great, and he needs to. And here's an example of one of the biggest weapons of the game. Watch how he hits all the spots with the same toss. Power, placement, and disguise. Those are the keys to the serve. He's got that quick motion, but nice synchronization between his lower and upper body there, mixed in a body serve. People love looking and oohing and ahhing over their radar gun, but it's the disguise and the accuracy that really makes a great server.
But that difference right there, huge in the first set. And significant because coming into the Sony Ericsson Open, second serve points won on the ATP Tour this year. Number 1, Nadal. Number 2, Roddick. The two best. But look at the first set difference.
Well, it just shows you, once these points become even, the speed, the athleticism, and the forehand of Nadal take over. And that's one of the few errors we've seen from Nadal today when he does get the Roddick serve back.
$30-15. $40-15. Roddick challenges a call right service line. Ball was called for.
I think it was long, not wide.
What the hell?
Call of return.
Game Roddick.
Why on earth you won't be the far side of the court?
First game, second set.
Well, you can hear Andy Roddick not thrilled that Fergus Murphy overruled opposite side.
I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, we already know that. On a 119 serve wide on the far side of the court, you should probably just stay out of it. You know better than that.
The whole reason replay exists is because of an overrule on the opposite side of the court. And Andy Roddick, gosh, I don't remember the year, but one of his first years on tour, he lost a match to Leighton Hewitt at the U.S. Open in the 5th set at 4-all. Justin, this is where you're supposed to remember the exact point. It was an overrule on the opposite side of the court.
It was 2-all in the 5th set.
Right. See? You'd know that. And the overrule was wrong.
And Hewitt went on to win the tournament.
Yeah, favored Hewitt. Was it that? It was Hewitt's year. Okay. It was Hewitt's year that he won.
Hewitt won the tournament, or he got to the semis and lost to Sampras?
It was one of Andy's, if not Andy's, first real legit year at the Open. And he battled Hewitt. Nash Stadium, big crowd behind him.
Roddick wasn't successful on that point, but that's a good play to use. Taking that second serve, trying to hit it and come in. He's got to try and put the pressure on Nadal any way he can. A lot of times his second serve return is going to be his best opportunity in a rally.
Had a good point there. Mixed up some paces, some heights of the ball. At least forced Nadal into a lower percentage shot. Just to clarify, that was 0-2. Roddick lost to Hewitt in the quarters. 6-4 in the 5th on a bad call. And then Hewitt ended up beating Sampras in the final.
Did you ever try out for Jeopardy?
I wish it translated over to other things.
Tennis Jeopardy, you'd be a winner.
Things that don't matter in tennis, I'd be a winner, yeah.
One chance. It's all he got in the first set. No surprise. Here's a chance in the second.
And you could see Roddick in that point, trying to move in closer to the baseline, trying to take control.
That's a great point. It's not so much that you get pushed behind the baseline. It's fighting to get back on the baseline and not just staying back there and conceding it once pushed back. In fact, watch all the best players, the great movers. Even Nadal, that's what he's done so much better. He moves forward and back, gives himself more time when his opponent hits a good shot. When his opponent hits a bad shot, he moves in earlier and takes the time away from his opponent. So it's really the vertical movement as well as the lateral movement that's so important in tennis.
From recognition, knowing when you're going to get a short ball, and Nadal is the best in the business at recognizing when his opportunity is about to come. It's like that last forehand gets up so quickly. Now 11 forehand winners.
just the winners. It's all the balls that he sets up that he hits great shots off the forehand, and just how accountable he keeps you to all the spots on that forehand. Off that same setup, very similar to Roddick's serve. He could go any which way. Inside out, pull it, inside in, cross court.
Short, angle, deep.
And it's been a Rafa-like match in that Roddick has had 2 chances and they've been very brief and no second chance.
What Roddick needs to do is hold serve, keep getting these free points, build some scoreboard pressure, make this match come down to a few points. It's exactly what Ljubicic did to Nadal last week. Hang around. Like Matt Damon and Rounders. Just got to torture John Malkovich, make him work those Oreos over, and just find a way inside his head.
Disappointing thing for Roddick is the 2 breakpoint opportunities, 2 early errors from Roddick. Didn't make Nadal necessarily come up with the goods on those 2 points. You get very few opportunities against Nadal. Have to try and take advantage.
That serve's open. If he could execute that serve, Nadal knows his first option, his first line of defense is the wide one on the deuce court because it slides away from his outstretched backhand.
Mr. Nadal challenging the call, right near sideline. Ball was called out.
Rafa executing what had been the protocol. He walked towards the chair, took a few seconds, but kept walking to the chair and then challenged, and loses.
40-15. Nadal has 2 challenges remaining.
And Roddick finishes with his 11th ace on serve early in the second.
Well, Thomas Berdych and Robin Soderling to square off in the other semifinal. 7 o'clock tonight. That'll be a battle of 2 big serving players looking to break through. Berdych won 1 Masters 1000 career in his career in Bear Seat.
Just project. Just project.
I generally
Nadal,
do.
Soderling on the hard court. How does that work?
Soderling matches up better against Nadal on the hard court than Roddick does. He has the ability to disrupt Nadal's patterns. Backhand down the line, finish points, make Nadal uncomfortable. In that matchup, once again, it comes down to the shot making of Soderling versus the speed of Nadal.
Well, Soderling much more able to hit through the court, heavier pace of shot, able to hurt Rafa more than Roddick can once the baseline rally starts.
And he hits much flatter. Soderling hits much flatter. Nadal manipulates that ball from the middle of the court, you're really at his mercy. Watch right here. Once Nadal gets his feet set, most lefties hit the high percentage cross-court ball to the backhand, and that's where Roddick is leaning. But he's so comfortable changing direction off that side with that elastic arm of his.
And that's also disguised, isn't it?
Exactly right. It's no different than we talk about the disguise on the Roddick serve. Nadal has it on the forehand.
Well, and on that forehand, he also makes it look easy to get inside-out spin. It's not easy to do on a ground stroke. As Justin said, the natural tendency is to hook it cross-court, but then to get the inside of the ball as well and get the ball bouncing away from your opponent inside out is not easy. He's a master at that. He gives himself so much space. He adjusts his feet at the last second to make contact in the right spot.
Forehand winners for Rafa.
Watch how Rafa is sliding his left foot to start his serve, and this facilitates the beginning of a shoulder turn. Now that's his right foot. Watch how it slides. That's helping him turn his shoulders. Before, he was arching his back more. Now he's turning his shoulders more. That's why he's more freely capable of serving the ball to the righty's forehand.
You know who the serve doctor is for Rafa? Because that's the kind of stuff that's could be so helpful to players.
Well, he's got a lot of work with his assistant coach Francisco Roig and his uncle Tony. Even though he's not a tennis mind, he's a student of the game. I've seen these guys. Roger and Rafa, they're not just great players. They love the sport so much. They spend so much time studying it. Well, this is over. So I spoke to Tony and Rafa at the World Tour Finals, the Barclays World Tour Finals in England, and he was really struggling. And looking to 2010, what he needed to improve, there were a couple things, and he's made all those adjustments thus far. Being more offensive on the backhand, finishing points at the net, and getting free points on his serve. And they knew that he needed to use some technical adjustments on the serve, all starting with that shoulder turn. If you look at all the best servers in the world, they either turn their foot to start the shoulder turn or it's already started parallel to the baseline. I mean, Lindsay, you started yours and you would slide it, and that would be the preemptive move that would help you naturally turn your shoulders.
When I didn't accidentally foot fault while doing it, but no, exactly. You want to get all the disguise you can. And shoulder turn is all part of that.
Roddick does it in a different way. He's a hybrid. He's a new type of server. When he came on the tour 9 years ago, I remember distinctively McEnroe was saying his arm's going to fall off because of the way he has the shortened, abbreviated motion. But certain guys just come along and they're freaks of nature. And Andy Roddick's back, the musculature, is a huge aid on the serve. Take a look at Roddick. Now he has a short, abbreviated motion. He brings this completely offsets the normal motion of the pendulum. He brings it right up into the hitting position, deep knee bend, and that is a pure power position. And then he explodes with his legs, and you see those muscles in his back. That's like Hulk Hogan-esque. I mean, we're talking about Schwarzenegger in his prime. It's that ridiculous. And that's why he could do just that.
Right.
Get that combination of pace, back arch, and get that ace. On serve in the second.
Championship trophy here, now named the Butch Buchholz Trophy. Andy Roddick held that trophy aloft in 204. Rafa Nadal twice has played for that championship here and lost both times, including a great match with Roger Federer. And now Nadal closing in and trying to fulfill Gimelstob's prophecy. Yep. All the way back to when we first saw him play Nalbandian here in the third round.
And that's been a good play for Roddick. Getting some air underneath that backhand, and what that does is that makes Nadal think. Do I stand in, try and take it early? Do I move back? And then when he moves back, Roddick has the opportunity to take control of the point.
And you saw why this is not just an Andy Roddick crowd today. That was a group from Cordoba in Spain. We saw some Barca fans here earlier. There's so many signs for Nadal throughout the crowd. Still the wrong play for Andy Roddick.
If you're going to go out to Nadal forehand, you better be forcing him. And Nadal too much time. When you go cross court to a lefty, you leave a lot of space open down the line. But that is still a very difficult shot made to look easy by one of the best forehand down the lines in history. Not this generation, ever in tennis.
Look at that breakdown. That's telling.
Roddick to turn the second set around. He's going to have to find a way to start winning these longer points or get himself out of points much sooner.
He needs to impose himself in these baseline rallies. He's done a better job getting the ball up a little higher, playing with a little bit more velocity. He's just got to let go and realize he's not going to win the majority of the points. He just needs to win a few of the important ones.
Close. Nadal came there, but he, in essence, he stood right in the middle on the baseline for the majority of that point. So Rafa once again hasn't had the smooth service games that Roddick has had, but has managed to be untouched so far. It's 3-all.
Well, he's managing his serve so well, different paces and spins, and that all comes from the variety of occasionally serving to the forehand. That enables him on those big points to be able to serve his favorite serves. It's no different than a pitcher. You're always saving your out pitch for the biggest moments. That's exactly what Nadal is doing on his serve.
Roddick has had more easy service games, so that another one of those deceptive tennis numbers occasionally comes into play. They're right now dead even in points won. But in tennis, we all know it is not how many, it's when.
Just very smart tennis. This is giving what your opponent, this is taking what your opponent gives you. Roddick on both sides. Roddick neutralizes that volley, can't hit a winner on it. Nadal doesn't have a clear pass, so he gets the ball up high over the backhand side of Roddick. It's just smart, good tennis by two great athletes. Roddick is gradually creating a little bit more space on that dude's side wide by establishing that serve up the tee. That's a better shot to approach on. The hard slice deep down the line, that's the percentage, that's the right play there to approach on. You cut off the angle. That way he could squeeze the line and cover the cross court on an angle. Much more advantageous for Roddick to approach on a slice backhand that stays low than his forehand that sits up high right in the Nadal strike zone.
Roddick continues to hold his serve. A little more work in that game.
Roddick leads 4 games to 3.
Play has at sometimes felt very decisive in favor of Nadal. The score is 1 service break.
Well, we've talked so much about the court positioning and how important it is in this match, and you can see here, Roddick, not only 88% of the time is he behind the baseline. Look how far behind the baseline he's going for the majority of those. And he's got to find a way to be able to assert himself more.
Look at that little yellow dot in the bottom right there. Where is that from?
I can guarantee you where that's from. That's from a Nadal forehand.
Now, these guys that challenge Nadal, like a Del Potro, like a Soderling, they position themselves inside that court.
Davydenko It's the guys with the two-handed backhands that are capable of taking the ball early. The same shot that changed the pattern of the match with Ljubicic last week. Nadal was flying through that match. Ljubicic found that running forehand down line because watch, Nadal has so much confidence in his speed, he'll leave that space there thinking he could defend that.
But Ljubicic was really flattening it out and going there hard. That's really one of the first forehands Roddick has flattened out, hit with a lot more pace.
First forehand winner for Roddick.
He doesn't have to do it with one shot. That was a two-shot strategy right there. First one high and deep to the Nadal backhand, setting up the short ball, and then flattening out that forehand.
And that's what he's got to do. He's got to pull the trigger on those forehands. And all of a sudden in this last game, as Justin said, the ball's coming off much harder from his racket.
Well, Andy Roddick pulled that one out. And he's brought to life the stadium, much of it in Miami. Just his third breakpoint chance of the match, the first conversion.
Well, not only the stadium, but Coach Larry Stefankia off his seat.
Well, that's what he's capable of doing when he commits and releases on that forehand side. That's just a weapon he leaves in the holster too often.
Has served so well in the second set. What he's dramatically improved is his second serve. I showed you the first set. It was picked on by Nadal.
Well, that's more of an example of how he's winning more of the neutral baseline rallies and picked up his ground stroking. If you were to drop a blueprint, how does Andy Roddick get back in the conversation of being one of the best players in the world? This set would be exactly the set that he could put on repeat and watch over and over. Mixing up his serve, mixing in serve and volley, flattening out his forehand, finishing points at the net, driving through his backhand. This is an Andy Roddick highlight film.
And he's about to give everybody a third set. About 10 minutes ago when I said it felt like the play had been very tilted towards Rafa, but it was just one break difference.
That's what happens when you play Roddick. The margins are even thinner because he holds serve so easily. And with that body serve, we're all squared up.
That again gets the folks in Miami standing. Third set coming up.
Well, we knew it was going to be a blockbuster encounter. A little Ali Frazier going on here in Key Biscayne. And the ASIC shot of the day. Shots like this turn this match around from a one-sided Nadal romp to a battle. This forehand down the line with one swing of the racket. Let Rafa know that this young man from Austin is here to play and fight for a spot in the final here at the 2010 Sony Ericsson Open. That forehand down line, that's our ASIC's shot of the day.
All right, what decides this third set?
Roddick's got to continue to play the way he played those last 3 games. It was a different Roddick than we saw the entire first set. He flattened his forehand out. He was going for more pace. Nadal wasn't able to dictate play.
That's exactly right. The pace of Roddick's shot thwarted Nadal's patterns. Roddick serving, that's the staple. Obviously, that needs to maintain. But his pace off the ground, taking away some of Nadal's time, not letting his feet get set under the forehand, that is what will determine the baseline rallies of which Nadal was winning such a high percentage. But this becomes real now. Now it's mental. You're down a set, Nadal's dominating. It's easier for Roddick to let loose and play aggressively, throw caution to the wind when his back's up against the wall. But now trying to get in a position to win, it's a different physical and mental ratio battle.
First statement made by Nadal. That hasn't happened as often for Rafa today. The quick hold.
A certain part of Rafa enjoys the pain, the work. And that's going to be interesting as his career moves through. How he get more free points and elongate his career.
There's the numbers to back up how much better Roddick played on a second serve.
And a big part of winning those points on the second serve are a direct result of him being more aggressive off the baseline and with that forehand. But that's just 93% of that first serve is filthy.
So just good night on the first.
Here we talked about the disguise of the location. Look how accountable Roddick is holding Nadal to all the spots on the court. There's a lot of yellow balls and they're scattered everywhere. And that means Nadal can't guess, can't take away any favorite serves. And he's a split second slow moving to the Roddick serve. Roddick is the type of volleyer who needs to come in a very advantageous position. Against a guy with defensive skills like Nadal, if he's just coming in neutral approach shots, he's going to lose most of those points. We've seen it against Federer, Nadal, and Murray, and those are the 3 guys that he's had the worst record against in the past 5 years. That's starting off to the Nadal forehand, finding the space there.
Well, and Roddick's forehand going through the court, doing some damage. Sets himself up to stay in a winning position. As soon as Nadal is able to get the point back in neutral and reset, that's when Roddick's been getting in trouble.
Real headshot there. Wow.
But that's good sportsmanship. That was the right shot. Moving up in the court, not being able to find an angle. If he executes that shot, he wins the point. That's one that slipped through the gates, because that was a big opportunity for Nadal to get double break point early in this third.
Nadal's done a better job this game of finding a way to get the return in the court and then setting the rally. It's a big point there to win off a Roddick first serve.
Well, that's his favorite serve. He's been quoted as saying, "I know I can make that serve up the tee on the ad side 80% of the time." Nadal needs to recognize that, take a step over there in the big points. Into the mind and confidence of Roddick in his serve. He played James Blake earlier this year in Memphis. 6-5. And serving for the match. So serving for the match at 6-5 in the third set, add in. He knows Blake has a great forehand return. He goes big up the tee on the ad. Blake hits a forehand winner. After the match, Roddick wins in a breaker. He says, he knew where I was going, but I still have enough confidence that I could blow it through him. Even though he didn't, he still believes that much in his weapon.
Here it is. See if you can deal with it. Fergus Murphy's going to correct that call from the chair.
Nadal challenging the call.
And
Right near sideline.
Rafa sees that and decides I'm going to challenge.
Before he hit it?
Yeah, it was a quick call, I think, yeah. Well, it was... Okay, so first serve.
Wow. Well, Roddick was questioning whether or not the point should be his, and it doesn't matter because Nadal's challenge is a winner. And that puts the game back to deuce. Is that serve bothering Nadal more in this match than Tsonga's did?
Well, because it is, but it's because two things. Roddick is mixing in a serve and volley, and also Roddick has done a great job establishing the tee serve.
Let it first serve.
Forehand volley. Often maligned Roddick volleys. Look how improved his technique is. This is as clean and as simple of a forehand volley as you're going to see. Keeps his racket right in front of him. Stays right behind the ball. The rule of thumb on the volley is if you can't see it, if it's outside of your periphery, it's too far back. Roddick kept that one right in front of him, saw the ball into the racket, and got that big hold.
second set. If Roddick's going to go up the middle, he's got to hit through the court. It's exactly what he did there. And it's a good play if he can get a good hit on that return to crank it up the middle.
It's Roddick unleashing on the forehand. Watch, he's stationary now in the middle of the court.
Yes.
But it's all based on him pushing Nadal back on the first one, creating the shot to attack him.
He's been able to do that with his depth and pace the last few games.
You can't hit through Nadal with one shot. You have to manufacture space, and that's what Roddick is doing so well here.
That's an exhale for the Nadal side. Love 30-second serve, and Roddick was just positioned to whack it. So that's only Roddick won that point from back on the wall.
Giving Nadal a little taste of his own medicine.
And Rafa just doesn't do enough with the overhead or the volley. And we've talked so much about Nadal's defensive skills, but how about some credit to all the miles that Roddick has logged and how fit and strong he is and how that's helped bring him back into the conversation at the top of the game. Right now, Roddick is imposing himself on Nadal. He's pushing him around. And Nadal does a little bit less on his ball. He's playing with less confidence.
And Justin, you talked about it earlier, so similar to what Ljubicic was able to do in the Indian Wells final. For set and a half, Nadal was in control of all the points, but Ljubicic found a way to start dictating just like Roddick has.
And the Roddick fans, who were pretty quiet for a set and a half, are now starting to drown out the Rafa chants. Well, this is a reversal that many didn't see coming. Roddick now up a break in the third. So Andy Roddick has stormed back to take the lead in this third set. Saved a break point in the second game and then converted in the third.
This has been a mirror image to the semifinals last week against Ivan Ljubicic. Playing against a big server, Nadal imposing himself early, and then the big hitter shortening points and breaking the Nadal balance. and rhythm, and then Nadal questioning himself, not playing with as much fluidity and aggression.
Since the finals at Indian Wells against Ljubicic, counting that match, Roddick has been broken twice in 61 service games. Benjamin Becker broke him once here, and then Nadal once.
It's been talked about so much the last few years, what Roddick needs to do to get back to winning a Grand Slam title, and he's doing it. It's so great to see him actually playing the way he needs to play to make that improvement.
Well, we should say he held serve 37 straight times in the Wimbledon final last year.
Absolutely, but he needed to flatten out his forehand,
right.
assert himself more, and he's showing today he can do it against the best.
How about that? Using his brain, mixing in second serve, serve and volley, and then the athleticism taking over. Watch how he moves without the ball here. Moves on an angle to that put-away shot. That, combined with the flattening out the forehand, combined with the backhand, losing the weight, all those things are why Roddick is once again in the conversation of being one of the best players in the world.
Work on it in practice, and another to all of a sudden utilize that game plan in the semifinals of a big tourney. Since about midway through that second set, he's just been a different player.
Continues to march on that serve. That's 60, now in the last 62 games that he served. 60 holds. We saw Tsonga play so well here the other night, but he never could get into it. He never could accomplish what Roddick did in the second set.
That's what Roddick's serve allows him. It buys him time.
Nadal was really able to put so many more returns in the court against Tsonga, restart the rallies.
Roddick controls his own destiny now.
Three holds will put Roddick in the finals. Roddick now can carve his own way to the finals. 3 holds.
15.
And there's a ball that drops right onto Rafa. Doesn't believe it. He will challenge.
Right near sideline. Ball was called in.
And if this is in, it's just going to heighten some surprisingly visible frustration we've seen from Nadal. Yep, in.
Stands 15.
And the always famous body language that Nadal shines in. Man, how often have you ever seen that?
Not often, and that's a symptom of the same exact thing happening this week that happened last week. Playing a big server, up a set, smooth sailing to the final, and then taking his foot off the gas just a little bit. And now, this is as well as Roddick could play. Now Nadal doesn't control off his own fate, because Roddick takes the racket out of your hand when he's dictating play like this.
And is maybe the biggest surprise of all this is that you watch the set, and now Andy Roddick looks like he knows he's going to win. First set, you would never have thought that watching. And Rafa's looking a little bit like the Roger Federer we saw here last year smash a racket on the court.
Well, you don't see that often from Nadal, a point he doesn't want to win.
Exactly. Yeah, like once in a lifetime, right?
Rafa could only help that he regroups from the mental breakdown the way Roger did last year. Yeah. That led to some yielded some pretty good dividends. So maybe you should smash his racket along with tanking that other point. This match is going to come down to if Rafa gets any sniffs on the Roddick second serves, and then if he can capitalize. Right now, Roddick is 8 serves away from being through to the final.
Rafa's last 2 service games, he's held at love.
Roddick leads 4 games to 3.
One day of rain early in the week, and since then just absolute brilliant sunshine, blue skies, rare clouds, little wind. It's just been ideal for tennis. And for nearly 2 hours today, these two men have put on some entertaining center court show. Rafa and Nadal look very much in command, except in the scoreline. 1 break in the first set, Roddick then leveled. With 1 break in the second set, and it was Roddick who was vulnerable first in this 3rd set, saved a break point, and then came back and broke Nadal in the very next game.
Some good body language, building on some positive momentum in that first point. A vamos and a fist pump to his box after getting love 15. But Nadal's just not able to diffuse the pace of the serve to his backhand. He's leading the ball short, and that's enabling Roddick to take the offense right with that big forehand.
And to do in this 3rd set what you've talked about, Justin. Roddick has already finished 10 points at net in this 3rd set, winning 8 of them. 15th ace.
After the first set, he's played as tactically efficient of a match as you could ask. He's noticing now Nadal's not as confident taking the ball early, so he's standing back on the return. In order to offset that, Roddick is serving and volleying. He knows he's going to have a volley close to the net. This has just been perfect execution and acknowledgement of what Nadal is giving him.
For so much of the beginning of the match, it was Roddick that was on a string. Nadal just really pushing him all over the court. And we've yet to see one of those rallies in a long time.
Thank you.
From here on out, it's all about the Roddick first serve.
Looked like he was leaning outside the cover, and still Roddick pulled him way out.
Undefendable pattern. From where Nadal is standing, conceding that angle, if Roddick hits his spot, there's only one place that return could go, and that's down the line. Roddick nudged the line and squeezed that backhand cross-court volley.
Gave Nadal one more forehand, and that's lethal.
It's not a bad play to go behind Nadal, but as Justin said, if you have an opportunity above the net, put that volley away to the open court. Just one too many volleys behind him.
Here, how much support there is for Nadal here.
Because he's not getting a lot of opportunities, when he does, he's playing them tentatively. That was a flat-out choke right there.
Roddick finishes with a big one up the tee, and he's a game away now from playing for the championship in Miami. Hasn't won a Masters championship since the summer of 2006. And trying to take down champion Nadal, who's going to be number 3 in the world again and has a chance to push himself right on the number 2 Djokovic's heels.
But Roddick has been the player in this March Madness. He's accrued the most amount of points of any player in this month. It's more important that Roddick takes good swings in this return game. Releases, plays aggressive tennis. Obviously, he'd like to break, but he wants to put himself in the right mindset going to serve for this match.
How about that effort from Andy Roddick? And that brings 14,000 to their feet. For just the 3rd time ever, he has taken down Rafael Nadal. And he enjoys it. This is long been considered a home for Andy. He talks about how he played so much of his youth tennis here. Orange Bowl, Junior Davis Cup. First big matches that he won on this court.
His first huge win was beating Sampras on this court. This last 2 sets of this match serve as a template for everything Andy Roddick needs to do and can do in order to still challenge everywhere against anyone in the sport.
Yeah, you said that right, what he can do. He just showed it for 2 sets. He can do it. And so 6 years after winning this title, Andy Roddick will play for the Sony Ericsson Open Championship on Sunday against the winner of tonight's semi between Tomas Berdych and Robin Soderling. 15 aces for Andy Roddick and a terrific 3rd set at net. Andy Roddick won 10 of 14 points at net in that 3rd set. Was that intentional, Andy?
What's
to
that?
Play at net as much as you did in the 3rd set?
Well, yeah, you know, as you guys could see through the first set and a half, anytime we got neutral, he was pushing me around with his forehand, and I was having trouble getting much on it. So I knew I had to be, A, more aggressive with my forehand, and B, use my serve as an approach shot a little bit more.
What does this past month of tennis mean to you, Andy?
Well, it's great. You know, to be honest, I was a little worried after Memphis. My shoulder felt a little banged up, and I hadn't been playing too great. So, you know, sometimes it happens at weird times, and I've been playing well.
Well, a matter of fact, we had lunch before Indian Wells, and I asked you how you were feeling. You said, just not too good. My knee, my shoulder. You've come out. You have been the player of March Madness. You're heading into the final.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing for what you did in the last final against Ljubicic, moving into Sunday against either Soderling or Berdych, what will it be?
Well, you know this is an easy answer, right? You win.
Anything tactically?
Well, it's going to depend on who we play, but I felt like I hit the ball pretty good in the Indian Wells final. Hopefully, you know, Luby just caught fire, but I feel good about where I'm at right now.
Well, not only was your net game working, your forehand really turned on midway through that second set. Was that the best you've hit your forehand in a while?
Well, it's different. You know, I've been hitting the heavy one, kind of pushing guys around really well, but that doesn't work against Rafa. You know, he hits that backhand so well with two hands, so I had to go to a flatter option, which is a lot more high risk, but there in that the last half hour of tennis, I was able to connect on a couple.
You frustrated Nadal. That's hard to do.
It's very hard to do.
By the way, you know, this is bracket month. You just blew up Gimmelstop's bracket.
Oh,
he picked Nadal to win.
Oh, thanks, Gimmel.
Not today. No. Earlier in the week, I'm saying he had picked Rafa to win the tournament.
You know, that's what friends are for.
Andy,
Can I change it now?
No. You're stuck with your pick.
There you go. Congratulations, Andy.
I also had Butler.
Yeah.
Andy Roddick with the 3-set win over Rafael Nadal, just the third time he's ever beaten Rafa. And there is the first. Look at the 85% first serve.
Well, just incredible. I mean, the way he managed his serve. And that second serve stat came up so much after the first set. The winner's unforced error ratio, that's something he's done so well throughout this tournament. But Nadal, he just didn't win enough on his first serve. We said it's not about his first serve percentage, it's how much he wins on that first serve. And that's indicative of him not getting enough free points on that first serve.
And so tonight we'll have the second men's semifinal with Tomas Berdych and Robin Soderling playing. Soderling fell to Roddick in the semis last week at Indian Wells. And he'll be trying to play in his first ever Masters final. There's the head-to-head 5-2 Soderling. Justin, you have a favorite in this one?
Soderling. Similar styles. Soderling is playing a bit cleaner, moves a bit better forehand. Look for a Soderling-Roddick rematch in the semifinals last week at the BNP Paribas Open.
So Andy Roddick with a terrific turnaround on a match, and I think Andy admitted himself in the conversation. Justin asked him in that first set, he felt like he was getting pushed around.
Exactly. He was on a string, and he changed. His credit, you said he frustrated Nadal, but he brought game to the table to do that. His serve buys him time, but then he flattened out his forehand, mixed in some serve and volley, and one of the best executed and smartest performances of Roddick's career recently.
And so we'll join you again tonight, 7 p.m. East, 4 p.m. West for the second men's semi. Thanks to our entire tennis crew and for Lindsay Davenport and Justin Gimelstock. I'm Ted Robinson. So long for now from Miami.